Hi, everyone. Good afternoon if you're on the East Coast. Good morning if you're on the West Coast. Just want to say thank you to everybody for joining today's out-of-home office hours. This is Scott Fiaschetti from Geopath, and I'm here with today Kevin Romero from Geopath as well.
Hello.
So hope everybody's doing great and having a great week. And hope everybody had a chance to join our out-of-home office hours that we conducted on Tuesday, where we were talking with several planners and buyers from four agencies, and where they talked about the planning and buying process and walk through some case studies. So it's a really great webinar. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, it's on our website, and I'll show everybody where you can check that out as well. But without further ado, just want to jump into today's session. And if you've been on any of these over the last couple of months, pretty much the same structure. I want to give an overview, a quick overview for those who are new to the Insight Suite. If you haven't joined any of these yet, we just want to give a quick overview of some of the key features and the updates. But then I want to walk through the tool itself, so you can see, again, at a high level, I'll give a high-level walkthrough of some of the basic features and functionality, but most of the session today will be on the updates, and there's some really key features that have been launched actually just last night. So this is the first time we're talking about them, presenting them. So hope you guys will be the first ones to see and talk about it. As always, before I get too far into this, please feel free to ask questions throughout. We'll do our best to answer questions as they come in. Yeah, I just want to make sure this is interactive and useful for everyone. So if you've been on any of these, you've probably seen this slide before, but I do think it's worth telling everybody again that the way we've been developing this tool is through constant feedback loop. We started off with this first bullet, that our Geopath finders, who were that first group looking at it, giving us feedback. But now, since it's expanded to the entire industry, we still want that feedback. So as you're exploring the tool, we are still in the development phase, obviously. So as you're noticing things on the tool, as you're coming up with new ideas, wondering about if certain features or functionality are coming, please continue to give us feedback. It's super helpful for us, and it does impact what we develop and how we develop them. That's why I have that header there, built for the industry, by the industry. And then we are on an agile release schedule. So what that means is that every 2 weeks or so, a new iteration of the tool comes out. So new features and functionality are added. As I mentioned last night, there was a new release, and there's a whole new section for us to go through and walk through today that we're, like I said, that I'm really excited about. Oh, as always, I want to caveat as well that the data in the tool right now is for non-commercial use while we're in the beta phase. So this is not the currency of the industry yet. We are still calibrating impressions and doing our checks and balances on the data that's in there. So I do want to always make that caution. And just a couple quick slides. So again, for back, if you haven't been on these calls yet, or been able to log into the tool yet, what you'll see is a very visual tool, and one where you can, the core of it is an interactive map where you can zoom in, look at specific streets or intersections, and really filter by whatever you need. Like, it's almost like a choose your own adventure, I always like to say. So if you want to start looking by media type or operator, or if you have a set of Geopath IDs or unit IDs, you can start from that aspect. But one of the key things is that we wanted to make sure that audience was front and center. And we do have an audience-first approach here, and that's in fact even the first piece in the top line menu. And we are continuing to add different demographics and different behavioral attributes over time. And this is going to be expanded again through our partnership with Claritas. We're going to have upwards around 10,000 different data points that you can sort inventory on. And then last, before I jump into the changes for this new release, again, there's a lot of different. Every location is mapped, as well as each piece of inventory has a host of information that go along with it. So impressions, compositions, reach and frequency, etc. So you will be able to see that and understand just that piece of inventory at a market level. So where is most of its audience coming from? Which zip codes are it coming from? Which DMAs is most of the audience coming from? So there's a lot of information on each piece of inventory, and I'll give a quick overview of that once we get into the tool. But I want to also talk about the new features in this release. So this is one thing that I've mentioned a little bit already, but more specifically, we've added more demographics and population. So previously it was total people, persons 5+. Now you can have it by 18+, 21+, as well as 0+ as well. And again, if you were not on the last call, you'll notice that the way we're housing those features, the demographic points, is new. And so that was a change with the last iteration to allow us to more easily continually add demographics and population profiles as well as consumer profiles. So additionally, some new basic demographic profiles were added. I believe these happened on the July 10th release. So persons 18 to 34, et cetera, you could see the different breakdowns by male, female, and Hispanic persons as well. And then reach and frequency measurements are there as well. And you will notice that most pieces of inventory, this is showing up at a panel level. There may be some pieces of inventory where it still says TBD. And if that's the case, it is because those measurements are still under review, and so they're not showing up. But you can see a reach and frequency is here at a panel level. And because of that, you're able to see that in other aspects of the tool. So you'll be able to sort. You see on the left side the inventory summary list. Be able to sort by reach and frequency now, as well as when you export the data, will also have the reach and frequency again for those panels that it's available for now. And then the tabular view as well will have a column with reach in it that you can sort by. So again, as we talked about, things are coming out. So reach and frequency is now here. So we're excited about that. This is a slight change to something that got released in the last iteration. So if you recall, we were able to create an inventory set and save that inventory set. So now you can actually, once you create an inventory set, you can add and take away pieces of inventory to that set without having to save it under a new name. You can save it back to that whole inventory set. And then we've also moved how you find help. Previously, all the help information was in the feedback button on the bottom right, and that feedback button is still there, and we still want everybody to give us feedback, like I was saying earlier on the webinar, that if you have new ideas, you have something's not working like it should, etc. We want you to provide feedback in that way. But all the help information is now in an easier place to find. So you just click on the help button, so you've seen the right-hand rail, the left-hand rail rather, and it'll take you to the support.geopath.io area. And again, that's a great place to go if you want to find out what's changed. If you have any questions on anything, there's a lot of articles and good information, as well as a whole set of video lessons that we're building and putting up there on the basics of media math, etc. And I can show you that as well quickly once we're on the call. But here's the key thing that got released last night. The workspace module, which has been under construction, has now had the basic framework available for everybody to start building projects and managing projects, and underneath each project is a scenario. So kind of that package of inventory you want to put together. You can put together multiple scenarios under each project. So when you're in it, you'll see that you can list all your projects that you're seeing here on the left, and have various column headers such as how many scenarios are built underneath that, when it was created, it's been edited. And another interesting feature here is you can tag each one. So if as you're building up multiple projects and you're like, oh, I want to look at all my QSR projects, or all my fast food, or all my coffee related ones. You can easily sort and find and call all of those up, and I'll show you how to do that. And you can see on the right side, all you do is kind of type in, and it does the searching for you. Another area that's new, this is, which we'll get into more in detail, but this is how you create a new project. You can title it, you can add a subheader of project descriptions, add tags, and then ultimately create one or more scenarios in there. So again, I'll show you how all this works in real life in a moment. You can also add notes overall on specific projects or customers, names, etc., add emails, which ultimately will allow you to kind of share this information as needed. And then within the workspace, you can obviously, as I said, create the scenario. So these essentially would be different packages that you're trying to test out and create, and look at the kind of summary view of all the scenarios available. And so you'll see here, like the summary information that's at the kind of inline level, the number of units, the audience that it's targeting, the markets, start and end date for that, the inventory package that you're looking at as well. And you could, for any one of these, you could edit the scenario. You can duplicate it if you just want to, this was good, I just need to rename it and put it in a different project. Or if you don't need it any longer, you can delete it as well. And again, similar functionality to how you create a project, you would be able to create a scenario. So it has a that high-level naming option. You can add subtext, and then add the audience, market, etc. So again, I'll show all of this once we get into the tool, but I just wanted to give you a high-level overview. You can also, once you're in the Explorer tool, as you've created these scenarios, you can save the scenarios and search your saved scenarios and map those right in Explorer, in the Explorer portion of the tool as well. So that's a convenient feature. And then, as I said, once you click on it, it will automatically load that scenario into the Explorer tool for you. So I'm sure everybody's excited, wants to take a look at what this actually looks like. Just want to pause, see if there's any questions. Any questions, Kevin?
Nope.
All right, cool. All right, so let's jump over to the tool right now. So here we are. If you've been in the Inventory Explorer, wrong tool. If you've been into the Insight Suite recently, this looks familiar to you. But for those of you who haven't, and if this is maybe your first time seeing it, I'll give you a really quick run through. But as I said, there's other webinars that we can point you to at the end of the session that take you through in more detail some of the more nuanced ways to use the tool. And I'll point out those webinars where you find them. But here you go across the top, you can select your audience, and again, here's where you're starting to see all of the additional populations that we've added, as well as the additional demographic profiles here. You can also search, that's a new feature as well. So if I'm looking for 18 to 34, okay, so everything with 18 to 34 starts showing up here. And then the consumer profiles, again, these more behavioral, psychographic characteristics that are in the tool. This has not changed since the last iteration, or the last release, but this will be changing soon. We're in a place now where we can start adding more and more profiles and demographics. And I believe that's teed up for the next release. So and then you can sort of figure out the market at a DMA level and also search all the different media types. These have been nested a little bit nicer now than before, and we also have the number for each of the subtypes, which wasn't there previously. So for posters, if you want to know how many posters versus digital posters, you can start to see that. And then all the operators are here, as well as the ability to draw with the drawing tool, as well, and also just look at a map view and just filter the inventory by the map view. And then also This is something that was in there last time that I demonstrated. You can start to search by location, such as a county, such as a zip code. So say like Cook County, or if you want to look at Cook County, Illinois, you can start to do that, and it autofills, as well as any other things like a CBSA that have a similar naming convention that you're looking for. And then if you want to add, if you have a package of inventory you want to look at, you can copy and paste it in here. Again, just to remind you, you can copy it from an email, copy it from an Excel file, a text file. The tool is smart enough to ingest it and do that. Same with plant IDs as well. And then here, the saved inventory sets. This was something that was here previously, and again, you could search those. But the new aspect is being able to search from your saved scenarios. And you can see here, I've already created a few that we'll go through on the call in a little bit. So stepping back at a high level on this right rail here, you're seeing the inventory summary list. So we're at a national level, so we're looking at 52 billion target impressions, and it's showing here total population 0+. That's the default at this point, the total population 0+ impressions. And again, that's generating 52 billion impressions, which is ultimately a target composition of 100%. I know you may notice here it still says persons 5+. I actually talked to the developers this morning, and that's changing soon, so it'll say 0+ to identify that it's, that the default is 0+, and that's what's being compared against. So as we start to just do a quick high-level walkthrough here, some of the things that are little few tricks I always like to look at. So let's say you're wanting to figure out where's all of Adam's inventory across the country. So you can click on that and just see, and it maps out for any one operator. You can look at where to easily figure out where their inventory is across the country, or even just look specifically, obviously, at any market for all providers as well. So let's say we want to look at Orlando today. Boom, boom, and I apply. And so now I'm seeing that there's over 7,000, just over 7,000 pieces of inventory in the Orlando market as well. And one thing I often like to do, let's see here, let me clear this for a second. When I'm starting to look at audiences, and I know I've done this before with everyone, but I think it's a nice little trick. So you look at here. So I picked Starbucks past 30 days, and so for the nation, it's showing 11% target composition. So now I have that in my head, and when I'm going back to look at or identify a market, if the market is open and I just need to come back with a recommendation, you're able to use that and have that. So let's go back to Orlando. And I'm still filtering for Starbucks audience. So you can see here, I'm looking, my market is Orlando, and I'm filtering for Starbucks past 30 days, generating 108 million impressions, which in the market, there's 1.1 billion impressions generated for people 0+. And so my target impression composition is 9.5%, so a little bit less than the national average. So, this may be a good market if Starbucks wants to, look at kind of increasing increasing share. So this may be a place that needs some out of home for Starbucks. Let me go in just quickly here and show you what it looks like as you zoom in, starting to see the different Skittles, as we sometimes call them here. So this is representing all the inventory in the Orlando DMA. So we're seeing here, if you ever forget, what this color coding means, there's a key here, and as you zoom in, it also adjusts to show you, because the iconography changes here, and you'll see the iconography shows you kind of the number of facings as well as kind of whether it's digital or not. So a black circle means it's digital, and a plain circle is static. Let me zoom out a little bit here. I'm just pausing again. Any questions, Kevin? No? Okay, cool. Cool. So right now, I'm looking at all the inventory in Orlando. And let me clean it up a little bit. Sometimes it's a little easier to not see so many colors. So let me just do posters, and I'll do some street furniture. I'll do transit shelters today. Okay, so I'm looking at posters and transit shelters. And as I said, as I mentioned earlier, you can start to filter by whatever you need it to be. So total impressions, target impressions, target composition, etc. Target reach, and frequency. Again, you'll see some of this stuff is still under review. As I mentioned, some of the reach and frequency numbers are there, but some of them are still getting put in place. So let's look at in-market total impressions for now. All right. And I have it all. And let's say I want to filter by the top 100. So you're starting to see that's what's being highlighted in the color circles on the left side of the screen. And as you start to scroll, you can see how on the right side, I'm hovering over inventory and the stars showing up on the left side. And let's look at this piece right here. So I want to look at the map view. So again, we are slowly, getting in the thumbnails for all the inventory that we've received. I know a lot of you have sent in your inventory, so we are getting that uploaded into the system. I just thank you for your patience with that as we get that loaded in. But basically, you see here, the front of the card has all the basic information on it, and you could click here on the right side to get more specific info on that piece of inventory. So, this, while we're filtering for Starbucks, this opportunity overview I always find very interesting. So this piece of inventory is also a good piece of inventory. It way over indexes for those that shopped her vehicle on the internet in the past 12 months. So as more and more demographics and behavioral characteristics get loaded into the tool, this will obviously change, and you'll see more varied different types of opportunities, so to speak, that it over indexes for. And eventually, we would like to be able to allow our members to customize that as well. And then I always find this very interesting. So the top zip codes that the inventory is over indexing for, or sorry, where that audience is coming from. So almost 30% of this piece of inventory's audience is coming from that one zip code. And I'll go back to that in a second. So top markets, so obviously the Orlando, Daytona, but also a couple of about 3% from Tampa St. And then your basic audience summary. So again, for a weekly audience summary, so your total at 5+, your target audience, composition, etc. Also TRPs, and it looks like this one that I happen to choose. Of course, as I happen to choose it, it is not showing for reach and frequency. So it's under review for this, but that will all be fixed in the coming weeks. Also, if you have any questions on anything here, on what's here, so you just click that I button that I did, and all the information on the definitions as well as calculations shows up here. And just to get back, you click that back arrow. And you could also export this as a PDF as well. Let me think. So there's also here, I have what we, just to remind us, we've done in-market total impressions for the top 100. And you can look here and just see all of it in a tabular form as well. What I want to do, before I go there, I want to go back here, and I want to save this as an inventory set. So I'm happy with this package. This is exactly what I wanted. I just wanted to see in the Orlando DMA, I'm really interested in, at least at a starting point, looking at all the posters and all the transit shelters there. So this is, let me type in here, let's say Orlando, Starbucks. oysters, and transit shelters. Top 100. Okay, so I want to save that. And then I want to go back to exploring. So we got a quick question before as we're doing this about, will the market definition for reach and frequency be added to the inventory detail sheet? Yes, we will definitely add that information to the sheet. And even if it wasn't, I think it's a great idea and that it should be added to it as well. So I can let the developers, the developing team know that that's something, if it wasn't on the development plan, that it should be. So thank you for that question. So I've saved my inventory set right here. Orlando, Starbucks, posters, TSAs. But let's say, you know what, I want to look and I want to sort by, I don't need all 100. I'm starting to kind of narrow in. So let's look at, I want to mix, right? I want some that have really big impressions in my mix. So let me clear this out. So I want these top ones here because they all have the highest level of impression in the market for that. So I'm going to pick these first 5. And then I also want ones that really over-index for my target. So that's Starbucks, people that have consumed Starbucks. Because maybe I'm actually not. Maybe my client isn't actually Starbucks. Maybe it is Dunkin' Donuts, and I want to use this as a prospecting campaign as well. So as I've been picking those, they've actually been up here. They've been being highlighted. So as I pick one, you can see it shows up on the map as well. Pick another one. So the ones that I happen to pick are all in the same place. So maybe I don't want those because they're all not very far from each other. So I think I picked about 10 or so. Let me close this down here and let's see where they are. So yeah, I picked about 11 pieces of inventory. And maybe I want to now save this as a new inventory set. So this is my Starbucks Orlando targeted. So maybe this is more, it's a targeted list, I'll call it. So 11. Cool. So I'm going to save that. Okay, great. I saved it. And like I know I mentioned there's a way to, so let's see, here's my other one, my Orlando Starbucks, the full one. So I want to go back to that actually and start again, and maybe I want to filter some other pieces out. So maybe this one right here on Lee Road, maybe I don't want that one in my list. So I'm gonna unselect it. Right? So now you can see there's 99 pieces instead of 100. So let me now save that. Let's add to existing inventory set. So I want to pick the ones that it was. So this one it was, right? So save. Great. Okay, great. I saved it. But you know what? My name is wrong because I said at least my text said top 100. It's actually now top 99. So I can keep doing that. Oh, so I did something wrong here. What did I do? All right, so I'll figure that out in a second. So I think I just, I don't know why it's not letting me do that. Anyhow, I apologize, but it typically would let me do that. So what I want to do now is, okay, I've set up a couple of inventory packages. I want to start to create some projects. So you go here into My Projects, and I've actually created a couple already. So Taco Bell for the nacho cheese fries, and Dunkin' Donuts, maybe they're prospecting Starbucks drinkers, etc. But I'll show you quickly how to create a project. So I just clicked on New Project, and let's say this is for, let's say this is for who? Wendy's. Okay, this is for Wendy's, and maybe they're a prospect. So prospecting Wendy's. Project description is, we're pitching for new business. So we can add tags to them. So maybe QSR would be a good one. You just type it in and hit enter. Maybe fast food, new client, prospect. So anything that you think is going to be relevant, you can start to add there. And then you start to add scenarios. So I want to save this project. Now I go back to my workspace. So now you can see it's right here. So this is for pitching for new business. We haven't set up any scenarios in there yet. But let's say, you know what, I've got a whole host. I've been working in this tool a lot. There's like 100 different projects. I just want to look at all my QSR ones. Right? So you can start to do that. And say, okay, I did a Taco Bell one where I was looking at some the rollout for the nacho cheese fries for the product. So this was a product awareness campaign, and there's a couple different things here. We wanted to do it in Chicago and Atlanta and Dallas. And then I have a couple different scenarios here. So for the rollout, it was just a basic demographic target this one was. Again, this is a fictitious scenario, obviously. So males 18 to 34 in Georgia on those dates. And again, here was all the inventory I selected. And then the other one I set up was, maybe they also wanted to target an attitudinal audience. So those that say eating at a fast food restaurant is fun. And again, this one was more in Chicago. And so again, looked at the scenarios here as well. So I'm going to show you how to, I'm going to run, let's go back to my Dunkin' Donuts one here. I created a scenario for in Providence, Rhode Island, the PMA, the breakfast sandwiches. So let's create one here. Let's see, is there a question? Right. So some of the, one thing I neglected to say here that I should right now is like, again, this is the basic structure that we need, and obviously we're not seeing all of the functionality that the market level, at the market averages, and a lot of the other aspects. That is what's coming in the coming releases. So you'll start to see the CPM ability to add cost per point and CPMs, as well as to look at package level, reach and frequency, and all of those other key metrics that I definitely know you're going to be needing and wanting. So this is the vessel, so to speak, that allows us to get to that stage right now. So we have the underlying foundation. So let's see. This is we're in the Dunkin' Donuts. There's a potential client, and they want to be in Orlando, and I want my scenario Orlando, and then the scenario is, if I can spell scenario. I'm sorry, everyone. There we go, that's spelled right. Cool. All right, scenario where we want posters and key chocolate. So this is scenario description. This is just posters and I will still want to, you can still tag these as well. So maybe if we do want to tag it as posters, Orlando, what else do we want to, how about, coffee? This could also be QSR. So anything you think is going to be helpful and relevant. And then we can look, if we recall, we had set up a scenario already where it was Starbucks, the market's Orlando we want, and let's say this is going to start in September, this one. It's going to run for about a month. And then we've already set up that inventory set, right? The Orlando Starbucks posters TSA. So I just click there, and now it's all entered here. And eventually, you'll be able to edit inline this stuff, but at this point, not yet. So I want to save my scenario. And then I want to go back to my workspace. So my Dunkin' Donuts now is showing that I have 2 scenarios that I've built. I've only tagged that one as coffee, but you know, if I really, if this is an important project or not, if I'm done with it, we didn't win it, you can delete it. But also, let's say the scenarios as well. Let's say this one was 2 for 2, the breakfast sandwich one that was really helpful. You can duplicate it, enter your name for the new scenario. So breakfast sandwich, and maybe this was, you know, specifically for. That one was in Providence, but now we want to do it in Orlando. So I've saved that, and then you can start to come in and edit. I've created that second scenario that was just Starbucks Orlando posters. So let's say that's what I want for that one, and save that scenario as well. So let's go back. And now I have 3 different kind of scenarios here as well. And you could fix, and you could start to see here how they have different aspects here. So this one has 200, this one has 100 in it, and so on and so forth. Oh, you know what, and then I wanted to, just change the market here to be more reflective of the actual inventory that's in that market, in that scenario. So, Orlando, boom, and then say that scenario. So the other thing you can start to do is start to map that inventory as well. So I'm in my scenario, and I can click it and start to map it. And I want to be able to show you that here. So here's that scenario that I just clicked on and mapped, and we're starting to look at it here. And again, you could start to work with it like we did already when we were starting to build it, and then resave it and put it back into your scenarios as well. So just want to pause, see if there's any other questions. I think that's a lot of what I wanted to show everybody today. Reports obviously is another key aspect, and that is coming soon as well. Again, all of this is starting to coalesce and come together. I just want to see if anybody has any other questions on anything as we're talking here. But again, we are really excited about this thing. This aspect of the tool is a really key feature to getting us towards the ultimate functionality of the tool and being able to bring in more of the features from ADS and O-Plan that I know everybody's waiting for. Other aspects that should be out by the time we have this session next month. Points of interest will be loaded in as well as some additional, as I mentioned earlier, demographics and other capabilities there as well. Just to jump back to the tool. So again, just pausing to see if there are any questions. But as we're doing that, I want to just let everybody know about want to let everybody know that there's upcoming webinars. So again, the cadence of this is we're going to do these every month. I want to do them on the last Thursday and Friday of every month, so you can start to plan against it for yourselves. It's the Thursday, we'll typically do it this time, 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern time, and the Friday sessions typically in the morning, 11 a.m. to noon Eastern Standard Time. And as I mentioned, we've done a number of these since May, and if you missed them and you want to go back and watch any of them, you can go. This is a screenshot of our website. You just go to the Geek Out tab right here and scroll down to our home office hours. This one here on the left is the one I mentioned that we did on Tuesday. But then again, you could start to see here some of the other more recent ones. But in terms of, I guess there's been one question related to costs and how that gets included. Again, the features currently in O-Plan will be brought in. So, and bringing in squad data. So if you are a member of Geopath and also have a subscription to squad, that will ultimately be a functionality that gets brought in. But also too, there's just the ability to add kind of CPMs, et cetera, as you normally would in some of our other tools like ADS and O-Plan as well, will be eventually brought in again. So just want to again say thank you to everybody's time today. We're running this session again tomorrow, so if you have colleagues that couldn't make it, let them know. Tomorrow at 11 a.m. we'll be doing this session again and doing a similar walkthrough as well. So in the meantime, if you have any questions, please reach out to us at geekout@geopath.org. So thanks a lot, everybody, and hope everybody's having a great summer and a great week. So hopefully we'll talk to you all soon. Cheers.